Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On today's video I have this Mini Cooper 2009 petrol 1.6 automatic. I'm going to be changing the oil and the oil filter. I'm also going to top up a little bit of some spring wash fluid and check the coolant. So firstly, we can top up some spring wash fluid. To be honest, I already done, so I'll top up a little bit more. Make sure you use the proper screen wash fluid, because if you just put a water in there, water can freeze in winter and then no water will come out to wash your windscreen. So just buy some of the proper stuff. You can buy ready mix. You don't have to buy this make, it can be any make, whatever they're selling in the garage or petrol station. Ready mixed, ready to go in there. Or if you buy the concentrated one, you can mix it yourself and pour it in there, and then keep your container in the back so you keep that always topped up. Obviously if you drive a lot, you will use that a lot, especially if you drive in motorways in rainy days or winter. It gets used up. If you don't drive a lot, then it will always be full. Right, let's move on to the coolant. So coolant is in this tank. This car has been running quite a bit. It's really hot at the moment, so if your car is hot, be careful when opening this cover. Do it very gently. I always open it by pressing on the cap and sort of releasing gas, but without releasing pressure without removing my hand from it. And I do that if the car has been running a lot, and just because if the cap fails, then a lot of coolant will jump, and that wouldn't be a good sight. So if your car is cold, then no dramas. Okay, so pressure has been released, but still a little bit of pressure. I can actually feel it. So again, I'm still pressing on the cap here. Okay, there we are. So once you safely take that cover out, and like I said, especially if the car is really hot like this one is, because it's just arrived for me to do the service. So right, in there is the coolant, and if we want to check the level, right, so to check the level, get yourself a light. You can shine it in here and you can already see the coolant in there. Now there's a little line here suggesting the minimum, and this area here suggesting the maximum. I can already tell mine is at the max. Just want to show you the line for the min and the max there. So I'm happy with the level. Obviously if there was no coolant there at all, if my coolant was at the minimum, I would just top it up. If it was down below here, I would think there might be a leak somewhere. So then obviously you have to investigate where that leak might be. And then we're going to check the percentage of antifreeze with this little device here made by Worth. So we suck some coolant in there. We can see the coolant is sort of greenish in color. We can see nice and clear, it's not contaminated, and also it's reading about -34 there. So that means temperature outside would need to be below that, so like minus 38, -40 for this liquid to freeze. If you're in the North Pole, you want a higher percentage of antifreeze, because temperatures there might be -50. If you're in a hot country, you may want less antifreeze. However, you still want to have antifreeze wherever you are, because the actual antifreeze has agents that protect the engine from corrosion. If you only have water in there, water is corrosive and it would corrode your engine. And also in a very cold country, water will freeze and actually damage your engine. So that's why we check and make sure that we have coolant and we have the percentage of antifreeze that we need for where we are. Right, you can close that. I'm happy with that, no issues there. And now we're going to move on to the oil and the oil filter. Gonna open this cap here first, gonna leave it hanging there, pull the dipstick out a little bit. This is going to allow some air into the system while we drain from underneath, so it makes it a little bit easier. And also we're going to remove our filter, which is sitting right here. Okay, we're gonna use this, I've got this 27mm socket here that we're gonna use to open our filter here. Now, something to bear in mind is that there might be a little bit of oil that is going to drip from the side onto the floor, because this is at an angle, and as you open it, a little bit of oil drips on the side. It always happens to me. So maybe put some, if you don't wanna stain your beautiful driveway, then add some paper underneath. Right, so let's get this open. It shouldn't be that tight. Usually gets tightened to about 25 Newton meters, which isn't a lot of force. Okay, I just got some paper there myself. Try to avoid messing the parts of the engine and the transmission there as well. Usually, I mean, if you open it very slowly, what we're trying to do is allow the oil from this housing to go down into the sump, but sometimes you still get a little drip. Okay, here we are, and not much has dripped. Well, that's a bit embarrassing because I always get a bit of a drip, but anyway, it's good news. But nothing came out, so it's nice and clean. And here's our filter, and the filter I'm using is the same VFL 521 Motaquip. To be honest, I would most likely maybe suggest to use a different make, maybe use a Bosch one, or not Hella, but Malay, preferably. This make I'm not really too happy with, but anyway, this is what I got supplied with. So I'm just gonna let this drip a little bit more in here, and then we can deal with that while the oil is draining from underneath. Okay, I'm gonna get the car up and we can drain the oil from underneath. So looking at the car from underneath, we have the sump right here next to the exhaust, and the transmission pan is down there. So get yourself an oil pan or something to catch the oil, and then you're gonna need an Allen key size 8 to open this. So normally I would crack this open with my ratchet and then take the ratchet out, because this is going to be messy because of the design of this. It's a bit disastrous, but it is what it is. So we're going to take that out like so, and let that oil drain, and you can see the mess. Nevertheless, we're going to let that drain and we can prepare our oil filter. So while that is draining, we can prepare our oil filter. You just need to pull that one out and dispose of it. And also remove the old O-ring that's just there. So take it out. Oops, it's gone into my oil. You are going to have a new O-ring in the kit, so we can get that in there. Make sure it goes into the correct groove. get your new filter, push it in there, kind of locks into position. And then we're going to put a little bit of oil or multi-purpose grease around this O-ring. I mean, I normally use a bit of just multi-purpose grease and put it around there, but you could just use a bit of this oil here and put it in around this O-ring. So the reason I do that, and a lot of people may do it as well, is when you put this into the housing of the oil filter and you screw it, this gasket can slide nicely if it's greased up. If it's not greased up, it might get caught or it might get damaged. But other people may say they never done that, they never really used grease and nothing ever's happened. So it's up to you, it's your choice. So that is ready to go back. And then we have our sump plug bolt. This is the old copper washer and I've got a new copper washer there. So if you've forgotten to get a copper washer to replace, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I have reused mine in the past and I never had a leak, but I do have one this time, so we'll change it. Okay, I'm going to put my sump plug bolt back in there now. Just giving that quick rinse. I'm gonna rinse it anyway. I'm using some brake cleaner, by the way. Now I have a torque wrench here, and I'm just torquing that to 35 Newton meters. So I torque that to 35 Newton meters. I don't normally use a torque wrench, but I've been using one lately on some of my videos. So to encourage anyone that's doing their car to actually get a torque wrench, and that way you avoid damaging things basically, because if you don't do this on a regular basis, then obviously you don't really know how much to tighten this, and it's hard to explain. So it's best to get a torque wrench, and then you can use the correct torque, and then you avoid damaging anything. Right, well that is done. We can use some brake cleaner to rinse the area, make sure we leave this area nice and clean as it was. That way next year when you come to service your car, if you have any oil leaks around here or anything, you will know that it wasn't from here because you cleaned it. Okay, I'm gonna get the car down now. So we're now ready to get our new filter back in here and put it on by hand, and that way you know it's going in the correct way. It will get hard obviously, because once you reach the O-ring it will get hard to put it in. So on this cover here it says 25 Newton meters, in case you didn't see it. So if you have your torque wrench, obviously go ahead and use it. I may not use it now this time, but anyone doing a service for the first time should really use the torque wrench. And we then can top up some oil. Now this car takes 4.2 liters of oil. I'm gonna use 5W30. 5W30, I'm actually using that Motoquip oil, but I would recommend something like Castrol or Mobile One 5W30. So this is the one I have today, and you need really something like a ACEA A3 or B3 for your petrol engine. You can get that open. Now look at that there. That isn't exactly, that usually is like a sign of a head gasket situation problem, but it can also be condensation. So like this car is probably been driven 2,000 miles since the last service, and then that kind of condensation forms and it creates that chocolate looking thing. But if you see that all over in there, then that could be a head gasket problem. But obviously you would have other symptoms. You would have maybe overheating, no coolant, all sorts of dramas. So now I'm gonna fill the oil in there. Okay, so I already measured my oil. I had 4.2 liters in this can. So we have our dipstick here, and if you look at your manual, it's going to show you how the dipstick is. But basically we have this area here where that dot is, that would be the minimum, and this area here will be the maximum. If you're checking the oil, I don't know, in 3 months time, if you see it somewhere here, that's okay. If your oil was somewhere here or less, then obviously you want to top up. But the every Mini I've seen seems to consume more oil than other cars. So it's a good idea to regularly check your oil, make sure it's all good. So you might be able to notice all of this is quite shiny. So my oil is somewhere up here now, and the reason is a little bit higher than the maximum area there. It's because once you run the engine, about 300 mils of that oil will go and stay in the oil filter housing, and so when that happens, this drops back down. So this is so that looks good to me, no issues there. It looks nice and clean. So we can remove this now, and you could try and clean that if you want with a bit of paper or something. Might be a bit difficult to remove, but you could try. Okay, I cleaned the cap, so I just sort of tapped it like that on some paper and it came out, and also I rinsed it with some brake cleaner, and now it's nice and clean. It's actually quite a deep cap. Anyway, we can now put that back there, and now I'm gonna start the engine, make sure everything is running properly. And I always like to, when I start the engine, just like to see that there are no warning lamps coming on or anything like that. So it's all running okay, and engine is idling and running just fine. Sounds okay to me. So you could have a quick look underneath, make sure there's no oil, any obvious oil leaks from the drain plug. And obviously we close that, and we closed our filter. And we're pretty much done. So having said that, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me. And otherwise, we'll see you everybody on the next video. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and thank you for watching.